This is my honest review of everything added in the March update. We had a new troop, pet, equipment, defense and troop upgrades, as well as temporarily the Super Yeti. And am I missing something? The removal of training time in Clash of Clans. Let's save the best till last, and I'll speak about that one at the end. Let's begin quickly going over the new defense and troop levels. Defensively, I think the Monolith, the Inferno Towers, and the Builder Huts all add a lot to switching up the current meta. The Builder Huts, they get extra repair time, so what that means is for RC dives, for example, the Builder can be repairing those defenses a lot faster, meaning that your Royal Champion takes a bit longer to get through those. The Multi-Inferno got a pretty good increase when it came to the multi-mode, especially if you have it inside Rage Towers. I think that's going to be massive. And clearly, the Monolith is, as ever, one of the scariest defenses in the game. We also had the ability to supercharge these alongside supercharging the multi-gear tower. This is something I touched upon in a previous review. I'm not going to discuss it in great depth here, but I do kind of wish the superchargers were held until a little bit later on in the Town Hall's life cycle. I understand why they do it now so that you get the most out of a supercharge, but sometimes I think it could just feel a bit overwhelming, and I'm not sure how much more they have to add to this Town Hall before the next one is released. I think they were really good for that back end of a Town Hall cycle to just extend the new content that was coming and not make people feel like there was just so much stuff to upgrade at any one time. Before I give my thoughts on the army camp level though, let's have a quick word from our video sponsor. Thank you to Dark and Darker Mobile for sponsoring today's video. Dark and Darker Mobile is a fantasy RPG reimagined for mobile to bring dungeon crawling chaos and intense third-person combat right to your fingertips. Unleash powerful new weapons, craft and upgrade your armor, and discover skins from boss battles, all by exploring the dangerous dungeons. You get to choose from a variety of classes to match your playstyle, such as the stealth rogue or the powerful barbarian. You can use these to engage in PvP battles, test your skills and climb the season ranks, or PvE challenges for loot and rewards. There's also a lot of cosmetics, such as the goblin costume from the season pass or the goblin cloak from the golden skin exchange. For those craving prestige though, unlock the Ebon Raw progression skin, which evolves as you level up, showcasing your progression through the ranks. Dark and Darker Mobile has soft launched in the US and Canada. If you're outside of those regions, you can pre-register for release later this year using my link in the description. The first 5,000 people to use the code LockpickExpert will also get 500 gold to get you started. Thanks again to Dark and Darker Mobile for sponsoring today's video. We also had new army camp levels though, and at first I really didn't think these were necessary. I think the game is in a good spot, and this is something that I've discussed numerous times, but balance is very subjective, and how difficult someone wants the game to be is totally different to somebody else. However, I feel like the game was getting to a really good spot in terms of the balance. Obviously, when Town Hall 17 first came out and no one had upgraded the defenses, the Town Hall itself was even a downgrade at first before you switched everything else out, then yes, people thought Town Hall 17 was too easy, but we were getting past that. We were getting to the point where a lot of people's bases were being upgraded, the defensive meta was getting established a lot more, and yeah, I feel like the community sentiment was a little bit better. There's always some people that just complain for the sake of complaining, even though stats-wise, it just doesn't back up what they're saying. But that aside, I feel like it was getting in a really good spot. And when I seen the new army camp levels, it kind of just didn't feel like it was needed. However, when testing with the new defensive levels, I don't think it's really got any more difficult. Like, I expected with new defense levels, the meta was going to get a little bit more difficult, but I feel like the army camps just offset that. I don't feel like the game is significantly easier because we have more army camp levels. The extra 20 troop capacity, I mean, it does make a difference, but it doesn't make as big of a difference as what it previously did, years ago, before hero equipment was a thing, before heroes were the pivotal part of your attack. Right now, 20 extra troop capacity gave a 6.25% increase to the amount of troops you could take. But when you actually break that down in an attack, let's say for argument's sake, your heroes are like 50% value, spells, etc. Your troops are 50%. Well, then that's buffing offense by like 3%. And I don't think it makes as big of a difference as what it would have a few years ago if that was the case. I feel like the balance is probably about the same as what it was before this update. When it comes to the attacks that were in the meta, Root Riders and Valkyries, Dragons, etc., like none of those got a new level anyway. So it really is just the extra troop capacity that gives the army a boost. We did get some things on offense, but really the Yetis is going to be a big factor for some of those dragon attacks with the Yeti blimp. Then Hog Riders, we have seen Super Hogs coming into the meta a little bit, so that hopefully provides a little bit more variety in the meta with that. But essentially, I think the balance following this update is around about where it was. And like I said, I feel like the balance was getting to a relatively good spot, so I think it will still be in a good position after this, but clearly that's something that the team continue to monitor. Will we see any of the new things within the meta though? Let's first discuss the new troop, the Furnace. As I discussed in my review of the February update, I don't feel like everything added to the game needs to be at the height of the meta and needs to be super versatile. There can be niche use cases for things. That said, I don't think they should just add things to the game for the sake of adding them. But the Furnace is a difficult one because I can't see it being top of the meta, but it does actually have some fairly decent use cases. I obviously broke this down on my main channel with sneak peeks, but when it comes to the Furnace, I feel like setting the funnel is going to be its best use case, but you're not going to be able to use this for a quick funnel. So a lot of the time we will use like a Yeti, for example, to quickly take out an area of the base or a baby dragon, whereas the Furnace is something whereby, let's say, later on in the attack, I know I'm going to walk my king down the flank, and then I'm going to try and break him into a particular compartment. Well, I could already deploy the Furnace just past that area, and it would be able to gradually chip away at buildings and get really good value for the king to then dive into the compartment because the funnel's already set. It is kind of like a mini flame flinger, so the value it can end up getting, as long as it's protected and you allow the fire mites to gradually ramp up and provide that damage, the value it can get is really good. But it does mean that if you're trying to blend it in with the rest of your attack, often it just doesn't have time to get you maximum value. You can also use it a little bit like cleanup. So for example, if you do a Royal Champion charge to one area of the base, you can just place the Furnace behind the Royal Champion. And the beautiful thing about that is that the Fire Mites will take out all of the non-defensive buildings. You don't have to worry about if you place a baby dragon, it hits a Seeking Air Mine, and then it's not cleaning up anymore. The Fire Mites will literally clean up everything behind the Royal Champion. That could be done behind a Minion Prince charge if you place the Angry Jelly on the Minion Prince. And I guess that nicely transitions us into the new equipment, because that's kind of the new use cases of the troop at this point in time. Defensively, it can be a little bit annoying to try and get through the Fire Mites, but things on defense are often nerfed, so it doesn't actually spawn as many Fire Mites, much like the Ice Golem on defense doesn't have the same radius of freezing as the offensive Ice Golem does, and it also doesn't freeze for as long. So I do actually like the troop. I think it's okay. It's not my favorite, but at least it does have some fairly decent use cases. However, the new equipment, the Noble Iron for the Minion Prince, I do quite like, because it brings up new possibilities that weren't as good. You could do them with the Minion Prince, like a Minion Prince charge, but now it is way more effective with this piece of equipment, because you can actually pair it with the Metal Pants and allow the Minion Prince to easily take out one area of the base. Now, you kind of have to use it alongside the Angry Jelly. That's the only thing. So it does mean for lower Town Hall levels, this is unlocked at Town Hall 12. It's not going to give you the best value because realistically, where you're placing the minion prince to the outside of the base, there's going to be a lot of non-defensive buildings, and you're going to waste those long shots and increase damage on those non-defensive buildings. Whereas pairing the Angry Jelly with the minion prince means it can directly target the defenses. And a lot of people in the comments of my sneak peek video said, well, this is exactly the same as the rocket spear. And yeah, it's very similar to the rocket spear, other than it's a passive equipment. So the rocket spear, you can trigger it whenever you want. The minion prince's noble iron is once it's deployed, so a lot like the super minion. However, in combination with the metal pants, you can actually get really good value on defenses at first, and then as the minion prince is moving into the base, you can use invisibility spells. You can even pair the minion prince alongside the air warden in order to make sure you're getting extra value. But then, should a seeking air mine pop, you can press the active ability in that of the metal pants to protect your minion prince, and essentially it's a different variation of the royal champion dive. That strategically gives you different options. For example, you don't have to worry about luring the clan castle. If you are doing a dragon attack and you're not going to get in range of that CC, well, then you don't even have to deal with ice golems most likely in there, because your warden and minion prince during the charge have not lured them. Your dragons moving through the base would not lure them as long as you kept, let's say, the king or the queen, most likely the queen, walking down the flank out of range. Well, then you're good. You can just move through the base. You don't lure the ice golems. So it just does give you a few extra options, which is nice. And again, I don't think that equipment especially, the versatile ones are nice. And they are often the ones that I recommend people upgrade first, because then you have the most amount of options given the ore that you've put into them. But there can be those more niche use cases and opening up different possibilities with equipment. That's what I like about equipment. And talking about the ice golems within the clan castle, that is one of the reasons that I like the new pet. I actually think out of the 3 new additions, the troop, equipment, and the pet, Sneezy is my favorite. Firstly, when it comes to air attacks in that of dragons, you can use this pet, and it's another flying pet. We don't have to worry about it triggering the CC. So, for example, prior to this, you had the Electro Owl, which you could use on either the Minion Prince or the Warden, the Angry Jelly, and also the Phoenix. Now, you can use Sneezy as well, and you have all flying pets. Like, you don't have to worry about the CC getting triggered. I mean, that's not even necessarily the case, because let's say you're walking the queen down the flank, you can probably put either the unicorn on the queen, it's going to stay back, so you're not really going to trigger the CC anyway, or you could even just put Sneezy on the queen as well. You just have a lot of options to swap things around, so it gives us another option in terms of not luring the CC. But on top of that, I actually like to put it on the warden for a lot of attacks, because what it means is, I mean, it stays well back. The warden generally stays back anyway, so like Sneezy is not getting taken out. So throughout the entire attack, through an entire dragon attack, you are just constantly spawning the Booger troops. I do think the names could have been better. It's not my favorite naming structure, but just trying to like stick to the mechanics of this. The Booger troops, you get 2 of them at any one time, which have 2,000 hit points. And as soon as they go down, like in 10-second windows, Sneezy just spawns another one, and then that moves forward to protect your dragons, and they are constantly absorbing damage to help your main army. So in a dragon attack, they're fantastic. Even putting it on the warden on a ground smash attack, one of the most difficult things to take out from a defensive perspective, but also the most critical things on offense, is protecting your healers in a ground attack. It's one of the main reasons, alongside how effective the Dark Orb is, that you use the Minion Prince, or you can use the Minion Prince in the Root Rider army, so that you're spawning the henchmen in order to try and trigger the air mines and protect the healers. Now, you have Sneezy and the Boogers doing that job for you. Yes, it cannot trigger the Seeking air mines. You're still probably going to want some Coco Loons initially, but even if you lose 1 or 2 healers, It's not the end of the world. What is critical in failing an attack is if you hit that red mine farm and all of the healers go together. That's where the boogers can basically stop that. And even aside from checking for air mines, they are still absorbing damage. Yes, if you're looking at a ground smash attack, you have, you know, like air defense might be firing at the boogers, and normally that air defense would be doing nothing, but they are absorbing damage for other things as well, right? Like a multi-archer tower, if it locks onto one target, can do a lot of damage. That's one of the reasons I quite like using it on the queen down the flank, depending on what is there. Basically just splits the multi-archer tower and makes it way less effective. Likewise, when it comes to queen charges, aren't used as much in the current meta, but warden charges are certainly still used, namely because of the fireball. It gives you that option. Depending on what you're warden charging, then you might want to use Sneezy, because it is going to be spawning the boogers out in front, absorbing damage, checking for red air mines, and the Sneezy pet is well protected. You're not losing that pet by it instantly going down from a warden charge, because you do have limitations on the amount of pets you can take. A lot of them get out in front and are therefore ineffective when it comes to charge style attacks. So out of those 3 new additions, Sneezy would be my favorite. Maybe the Super Yeti is going to change that, but I mean, just finishing off this section, I guess first, I do like the new troop. It's not my favorite, but at least it has some use cases. Noble Iron does open up different possibilities, but Sneezy is definitely my favorite. The Super Yeti though, okay. I mean, this, I just find this funny more than anything else, because it was meant to be in the game. It just wasn't meant to be released at that time, because updates happen whereby you download the files with the update, but then Clash of Clans can decide when to trigger things so that you then see them, right? That's where, like, limited time events and things like that, you would have downloaded things from the previous update and then they just activate it on a specific day. And that is clearly what was supposed to happen with the Super Yeti, but there was just different ways of using it and at least seeing it. Now, the important thing here is, as fun as the Super Yeti looks and was, it clearly wasn't finished, right? Because, I mean, they have a whole testing process they go through, but a lot of the time, the finalized balance is done right at the end. So this troop was added accidentally into the game, but clearly hadn't gone through all of the rounds of testing and was just severely broken because, well, yeah, like all of the files were there, but again, before they activate it in the game, they can tweak any numbers they want, right? Like, you just have to have the files on your device for it then to be triggered once they decide, server side, to activate it. Now, obviously, I brought a video sharing this leak in the game, but like, either way, we can look forward to the Super Yeti in the future. It's clearly not going to be as powerful as it was in this version, where the bug allowed you to see and even use it inside the clan castle. But yeah, I mean, clearly with updates, it would be ideal if there wasn't any bugs. But with switching training time and the whole way that the army training works, you can see how this was kind of a slip up, and it was just there. And it goes back to what I say nearly every time. It is near impossible for them to release an update with there to be 0 bugs. They cannot test things to the scale of, like, everybody until it's released. All of the different device types, all of the little weird and wonderful things that people do. Like, they just cannot test things to that scale and every single thing. Otherwise, they'd never improve the game. So there is always going to be bugs. Yes, I wish there was less bugs. Yes, as kind of fun as it was for the community, I guess, to like goof around with this for a little bit, I wish it wasn't there. I wish it had have been revealed the way that they wanted to reveal it. Just releasing it one day, or like, I don't know actually what the plan is for the Super Yeti. When the Super Archer was released, it was just released into the game. There wasn't an update. It had clearly already been in the game and then just activated it one day. Maybe that's the same thing they're going to do with the Super Yeti. And I wish the surprise hadn't have been spoiled, right? But we are going to be getting the Super Yeti at some point. It will not be as broken as it was here. And I am glad that they are doing bold things and making the game bigger and better. And if that comes with some extra bugs, I'm okay with that. I know that it frustrates some people, but it is what it is, really. That said, though, the biggest part of the update, and there was many knock-on effects of this, I feel like I could have done an entire video discussing this, actually, but the removal of army training time is the biggest and best quality of life change we have ever seen to Clash of Clans. The main things I'm going to talk about are the knock-on effect from doing this, because there really isn't anything to not like about the removal of training times. I mean, yes, I get the point of view from people that say there's always been training time. It's, you know, the nostalgia element, and I understand that. But for the game to improve and get bigger and better, like, change is important. And you'll always be able to remember those times. There was a comment on my video when this was first announced, and I responded saying, you know, change is important, but it's cool to look back on the 10 years of Clash of Clans and just how much the game has developed. I have seen some comments of like, I like the fact of waiting of troops. I guess the only thing I can personally relate to there is it makes the army feel a little bit more important. But the fact that I don't have to wait of troops, there's not a lot not to like. It's such a good change. And the quick train can be revamped, right? Like, I can have my different strategies, and my pets and equipment are just locked into that strategy. I don't have to manually switch my equipment if I want to change from a ground root rider army to an air dragon attack. Everything just instantly loads with it, and that means when we share army links, subscribers can copy the link and they have everything they need. In general, whilst, you know, there are some tweaks I think could be made to have the UI better, it's very nice, it's very effective. I do think that I've suggested this to the team as well, like, rather than just the wooden background, again, if they're looking to push more cosmetics in the game to allow cosmetics to have a bit more of a driving factor than progress, then maybe these screens are things that we could actually tailor and have custom army screens. Or maybe for an event, all of the screens across the game are like tailored to that event. But I guess that's a side note. Moving back to the army training time, removal is great. Force closing the app, there were some changes with. I am not that upset about this. I know some people are very upset about it, and I use the force closing the app technique a lot. When it comes to the raid weekend, that's all I do in the clan capital. But when you really think about it, should it have been something that we could really do in the first place? Like, the best way to play the game is to not play the game, like force closing the app, to then just quickly spam and get the attack done. And all it's doing, by the way, is meaning that the attack has to play out on the server side. So that's all what used to happen. When you force closed the app, when you logged back in, the attack would play out on the server side, and then it would just instantly give you the result. But now, what it's making you do is actually wait for the attack to continue and finish. So if you wanted, you could end the battle. Yes, you wouldn't get as good of a result, but you could end the battle, and then you could instantly go out and do another attack. So if looting and farming is all you want to do, then just make sure once you've got your loot, end the battle, and then you can instantly go out into another. It's only if you drop all of your troops, force close the app, and you only have to wait until the attack is finished. You don't have to wait 3 minutes. You might, if the attack takes the entire 3 minutes. But if the attack is over in 40 seconds, well then after that you can instantly go back out. And that just depends on where you've placed the troops, how many you've placed, etc. But because you don't have to wait of armies anymore, you don't have to worry about only having 20 sneaky goblins ready for an attack. Like, you can literally take a full strength army every single attack. And the force close is applied to each village. Home village, builder base, clan capital. I think it's going to impact a lot of people in the clan capital. In the builder base, whenever you did that, you were always giving up the second village anyway. So yeah, people used to do it to obviously gain loot from the loot cart, but they kind of helped that with doubling the loot in the builder base. But what you can do, by the way, is you could force close a home village attack, go into a builder base attack. The home village attack is still playing out because that's a different village. Force close a builder base attack, force close a clan capital attack. By the time you rotate back to the home village, maybe that one's ready to go. Like, they're not blocking you from attacking in other areas of the game, but if you're in the home village, you have to wait if that attack finishing off. And to be honest, I think that's only fair. On top of this, Clash of Clans have said that this is to prevent bots. Previously, we had training time, which would slow things down, but with that removed, clearly we need something to prevent these from just being able to non-stop attack. Yes, you can't spam 2 attacks real quick back to back, because that was the main advantage of doing this. You could log into an account, spam the 2 attacks, go to a different account as the troops are training in the background, but now you don't have to wait at the troops training, so it's a net positive overall. And that's exactly the same when it comes to clan castle donations. Yes, there is a donation cost now for the troops, but I think having some sort of cost to donate the troops to your clanmates is only fair, because it feels like you're then giving the troops. You're not just aimlessly filling the clan castle with like nothing, if that makes sense. It would devalue the gold pass by removing the 1 gem donation perk, and clearly that's something they don't want to do. Like, I think they're being more than generous removing the training time. And sure, I think they're looking to improve the amount of people playing the game and hope that if the game's more popular, then they do make more revenue. Like, I'm not blind to that fact, but clearly reducing the value of the gold pass wouldn't be good either. And I do think it's fair that there's some sort of donation cost. Previously, it was time. If you didn't want to donate with the 1 gem boost, well, then you had to cook the troops up or already have them cooked up. And depending on what you're donating, that was a good couple of minutes. Now, the donation cost, you can more than get that by just going and quickly doing an attack. And the time you would have spent cooking the troops up, it's arguably now quicker to quickly do that attack and get the loot to donate them. I think where it might need tweaking, I don't know, I'm sure they've looked at the numbers, but lower town hall levels where loot is not scaled to the same point as when you're at the highest area of the game, because I don't think the donation cost is scaled based on the level of the troop. Yes, there's a little bit of gatekeeping in that of you can only donate certain types of troops, and at the lower levels the earlier troops will work out cheaper, but I think overall it's going to be kind of more expensive for the lower town hall levels anyway, and I don't know until we've had time to play, test this, whether that is something that needs tweaking or not, but that's kind of my main concern, is the lower town hall level players. There was also a lot of discussion about the change to the trophy system. Now, where I think they maybe shouldn't have done this, and I don't know, maybe it was necessary to do it with the update, but they released the change to the trophy system with the update, even though the removal of the training time was not coming for a good number of days after it. And the change to the trophy system was only because they removed the training time. Now, they might have done it because the reason the training time was released after the update was because they needed to generate clone bases, because clearly we can expect a lot more attacking in Clash of Clans since you don't have to wait of your army, and well, it would just lead to sitting in the clouds, which is ultimately just frustrating, right? Like, whenever there's an event going on, Hammer Jam being the prime example, depending on your town hall, your league position, you can be stuck in the clouds for a long time. And whilst I don't think the clone bases is like the ideal thing, it'd be better to just attack a real person, it is a clone of a real person's base, and that is way better. The positives of doing that and not having to just sit frustratingly in the clouds is way better than if it wasn't a thing. So maybe the trophy change had to happen so that they could like capture the loot and the trophies for those and be generating them. Maybe that's why it happened, but what it led to was a little bit of frustration, I guess, from people where they didn't quite understand how it worked, why it was implemented, even though they still had to wait of their army cooking up. So I don't like that fact. I think it would have been better if it was released with the update, but I'm pretty sure that must be the explanation as to why, and if that is the case, then I understand it. When it comes to the trophy change itself, again, I understand it. I think it's fair, because whilst it seems a little bit brutal that for a 1-star you only get like 1 or 2 trophies or like something very minimal, it used to be an even split. So if it was a 30 trophy offer for a 1-star sniping a town hall, you would get 10 trophies. Now it is a very small amount of trophies for the 1-star, an increase, a lot more trophies for the 2nd star, but you get the bulk of your trophies for the 3rd star. But obviously, you're not having to wait of armies anymore. So if you are literally just going out and like sniping, dumping your army, getting a 1-star, getting out of there, then you're going to still climb trophies faster than if you had to wait for your army. And it depends. You can see where in certain situations, low town hall trophy pushing, for example, it will be a negative. It's hard. It's going to be harder than what it was. And I can understand and empathize with those players that it would be more frustrating if that's the element of the game that you enjoy the most. But overall, I think the change is necessary to make sure that if you're able to just attack and attack and attack, you don't just overinflate your trophies and actually get yourself to a point where you're matching with people that are way stronger than you. Like, if I'm a Town Hall 11 and I just inflate my trophies right up to Legends League, like, there's a chance I'm matching higher Town Halls, and then it also becomes frustrating that I can't beat them, and I can't, like, effectively attack them. So there is almost this natural point where people should be in their natural league, if that makes sense. And that's clearly what this is aimed to do. If you want to be active and you are attacking, then you can gain trophies. And I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, well, I'm not going to be able to maintain my trophies because I'm only getting 1 trophy offers on offense. But the same applies on defense, right? Like, you only lose 1 trophy if someone 1-stars you. So it swings and roundabouts. Like, you should be able to maintain your trophies where you are, as long as you're kind of either playing actively or actually trying a little bit, then you should be able to maintain your trophies. It will take you longer to push up. And if you're someone that literally just jumps on, drops a couple of sneaky goblins once a day, twice a day, let's say, if you used to just spam your attacks and that was it, twice a day, well, yeah, you might struggle to maintain your trophies, but hopefully, because training time is removed, you do get a bit more invested and you are wanting to actually use full strength armies. You don't have to worry about those training up in the background. So then that might help you to maintain where you are. So yes, I can understand where some of the knock-on effects of this could be frustrating to like pockets of players, but I think overall there's not a lot to not like about removing training time. There is that factor that I've heard as well of people saying, oh, well, I used to have to wait of training time, now everyone else is going to have to catch up. But I don't understand that argument either, because it's the same as every time there's cost reductions. People say, oh, well, I had to spend this amount in order to get the walls upgraded, but, well, you already had them upgraded, and now it's like better for everyone. You could just be happy for other people as well. It's better for you as well that training time is removed, but you can also just be happy for other people that they can enjoy the game more. You don't have to just think about yourself in a situation. So like, more people can enjoy the game more. That is a good change, and it actually helps you as well. I understand why people might feel hard done by, if you will, but like, let's say when you relate it to cost and time reductions, well, you already have that completed. Other people still have to do that, and if they didn't make those changes, well, the game wouldn't be around for very long anyway, because it would just lose popularity over time, and then, well, then you can't play the game, so then who cares, right? Like, these changes are necessary to keep moving the game forward and make sure that we can enjoy the game for many years to come. So all in all, I feel like since the update was termed the Clash Anytime update, that was clearly the main driving factor. And what is there not to like? 10 out of 10 for removing training time. It's so good. And to be honest, I also think, aside from the training time removal, the update was fairly substantial given the length of time. And I personally do like the game progressing forward. There definitely becomes a point where they could easily add too much and overwhelm people, kind of the point I was getting at with superchargers. But if anyone played the game back, you know, in the Town Hall 11 days, then you know what I'm talking about. Like, we had 2.5 years, I think it was, nearly even 3 years between a new town hall. I don't know, the team was smaller back then. I think they were frightened to like break the meta or something, but it wasn't as exciting. More things happening and keeping the gameplay fresh, to me, is a really good thing. Obviously, we have all of the WWE collaboration content as well, which I didn't discuss at all in this video. I might even do one at the end of the month, just recapping all of that. But clearly, part of these videos are sharing my thoughts with you, but also sharing your thoughts down in the comments as well to let us know what you think about the update. And just in case you are interested in hearing my thoughts of everything that was added in the February update, I'll pop a link to that video on your screen. Enjoy the rest of your day.